Hello, everyone. I am going live today, and I'm about to invite my co-host, see if she's on.
Hello. Hi. I was just sitting there thinking, am I going to be able to do this? Oh, wonderful.
You got it. You got it. You're here.
Okay.
Well, how are you? It's nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too. I am good. We're finally having some spring weather in London, so it's feeling quite bright today. It's amazing.
There you go. That's nice. No, I've only been to the UK once, and it's been years ago, and unfortunately never made it to London. But it's on my to go and see list at some point.
Where are you now?
I'm in Georgia in the US, so down south where it's always hot.
Ah, how cool! How cool! I went there on my honeymoon. In fact.
Oh wow, neat.
I know, an unusual choice for a honeymoon, but it was great. Sorry, I'm just closing the window. Oh, there we go.
Okay, I will
Right.
have to admit, going through, watching you over the, however long I've been watching your videos, I'll just say you have a great collection of hoodies.
You know, there is a reason for the hoodies, and I've been stuck in them for five years because I have like multiple children and I'm always breastfeeding them, so that's why I wear hoodies. Like it's as simple as that. I
Well, you
need.
have a wide collection.
I'm vowing to myself that I'm going to buy some new clothes at some point, but it will happen.
Oh man, hello there. I see some people are joining in at this moment, but I don't know. You've done lives before?
I've done one. I've done one live with Stephanie. Have you come across Stephanie Santos?
She sounds familiar, but I have not had the pleasure to officially meet her. I guess officially as officially goes in this line,
Yeah.
But yeah, what I usually like to do is make sure you introduce your books since you have two out right now, and maybe I'll do a little pitch on my end because again, viewers on your end see your information, they log on and vice versa. So just make sure my people get to see you and vice versa.
Oh, I see. I didn't know that's how it worked. Ah, okay. Well, do you want to go first?
Oh, well, okay. Okay, so my little spiel is I've been writing for a little while now, got off to a slow start, but with that said, as of date, I have three different series running. One is a complete series. It's my first, my debut novel, Asara's Claws. It's part of the Incarn Saga. That's a 4-book war shifter series where it's set in a kingdom where both the shapeshifters known as Therimorphs and the humans have begrudgingly lived side by side, and they have to decide if they can get over their differences to fend off a third party that's about to attack. So that one's new adult in my complete series, as I say. But since then, right now, I'm publishing two simultaneously since I am crazy. And one of them is my young adult adventure portal fantasy series, the Jed Chronicles, and it starts off with the 12 tasks. One day I'll figure out how to flip the screen on these lives, and that one's dealing with a multiverse with 12 magical worlds and the concept of the chosen hero, and can she help maintain the balance that essentially keeps life going. So that's one other. And then my third series is only ebook, so unfortunately I don't have, as of yet, a physical copy to hold up, but it's called The Guardian Speaker, and they are novellas for adults, and they are Viking fantasy, so you get to explore Yggdrasil, the Nine Realms. You're going to see the Thor and Loki way, way down the line, but I start with more obscure fantasy for that one. So those are my three.
I was actually checking out your books on Amazon earlier today, and it looks like you've got so many. I was like, wow. I mean, how long? How? Whoa, she's so productive. How long have
Well,
you been
okay,
writing?
I'll have to say, COVID allowed me to refocus since I'm also an artist on the other side. Since a lot of the galleries weren't open and everything, I refocused a lot of my attention on my writing and took 2020 to prep a lot of work. So by the time last year came around, 2021, I was able to produce and publish a lot of my novellas really quickly and still be able to put out a full length in a short amount of time. So that's helped me. Of course, this year it's slowing back down and now I'm trying to reassess how quickly I can publish. How about you? So
Yeah,
tell me about your 2 books, since I watch you all the time.
I did not prepare properly. I've only got one. This is
Okay,
the
that
first
works.
one. So that was the one. They're both young adult fantasy, kind of dystopian adventure. And
And the name of your book is, you held it up so fast.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Let me do this again.
There you go.
This is, yeah, and
there
it's
you
backwards.
go.
Forbidden Healing. So that is the first one. And I published this one in December last year. And then the second one, which I don't have a copy of here.
Fine, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, The Dream Key. That one I published in March. So I had two kind of, they're between 70 and 80,000 word novels in 3 months, because I had they were mostly written before I published them, but I had, you know, when you're starting out this self-publishing thing and you're like, okay, how do I do this? If I publish really fast, then is that going to help me? So I kind of felt like one book felt like it felt more serious once I had 2. So I was quite keen to get 2 out quite quickly, because then I was kind of more on a roll. And the third one, I think, is going to take me a bit longer.
It's okay.
Yeah. I'm like, do I need to rush to the finish line? No, I'd rather have it ready, but it definitely won't be a 3-month turnaround this time.
I'll admit, like, up until, again, that slowdown in 2020 where I could, like, reassess my writing, I was publishing maybe a book a year, and my first book took from conception to publication 10 years, so take a breath. Like I said, I had a very slow start. It's picked up since then, but a very slow start. 3 months is not bad.
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of an illusion, the 3 months, because similar to you, like, I had the book that became Forbidden Healing. I probably started writing that a really long time ago. Like, I had the idea of it when I went on holiday in 2013. Oh, so that's a decade ago. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, is that good decades?
Yeah, exactly. It kind of like ruminated in the back of my mind and became this huge sprawling manuscript that was way too long and I just didn't know what I was doing. You know, I don't know about you, but like the first time I started writing, I hadn't really got the reader in mind. I was just doing it for me. So it was just this kind of big stream. Yeah, like this big stream of messy story. And then I looked at it, you know, a few years later after it sat in a drawer, and I was like, ooh, this is not looking so hot. And then it got ripped apart, and I found an editor, and it turned into a completely different book.
Oh, wow, that's cool. That is exciting, though. Now you can say you're an author, and like you said, both of the covers look fantastic. I'm going to do one. No, and I'll pop off screen 1 second.
Okay. Hi, Haley.
Okay,
hi.
So because in March was my birthday, and my boyfriend got me.
That's so cool. Yay!
I thought you would appreciate that, because he hears like all the authors that I've been following consistently on TikTok, and he's like, "That's one of the ones you've been following, right?" I was like, "Yes."
That's so lovely. It's so lovely that he's also paying attention. I'm not sure my husband. No, it's just like, oh, you've got another book. I'm like, yeah.
Well, I force him to pay attention. That's the problem, is I don't stop talking. So you're gonna pay attention eventually. But just wanted to share that one. I have yet to read it. It's the next one up. I'm reading book 3 of Wheel of Time right now. So after I get through that one, this one's next.
That's gonna take a while, I'm sure.
Well, it's a little meaty, but probably not as long as you expect. Okay, so let me ask you, so what inspired you to become a writer?
I had always wanted to do it. I was that kid that did nothing apart from read. Like, it was what I did all day, every day. Read books. I used to keep little lists of how many I'd read. And I never really seriously thought it could be something that I would do as a career. It was like a hobby. And that was, you know, my family, my background, everything. Like this was not, it was a different time when I was young. Definitely, it wasn't seen as a serious choice, and I still
still
think
is, but it's better.
yeah, it's still straddling that place where people are like, why would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you need to go and earn some money and like do something responsible? So I did that responsible thing for a long time, and then finally came back to it after I had got married and had kids, and I had given up my job because I was looking after 3 young children. And then it was in COVID where it was lockdown, and I thought, hold on a minute, I don't have, I'm not doing my career anymore. I'm looking after my children, but I still want something for me. And it was at that moment where I was like, maybe this is the time where I can do the thing that I've always
Do
wanted
the
to do.
thing.
Yeah, that I never took seriously. So it was that, like, a lot of things had to happen in my life before I was like, oh, actually there are people out there doing this as a serious career. This is not, it's not just self-publishing particularly, it doesn't just have to be a hobby anymore. We've got so much evidence of so many people who are making it work,
Mm-hmm.
that I feel like, if it's what you want to do, you kind of can't ignore that. You've got to give it a go, right?
Oh yes, and that's the fun thing is, well, I think the perception on publishing is changing, maybe a little slower than people like us would like, but it is changing because a lot of the authors I've talked to, especially through these lives, all have said, they grew up being told that writing is not a real job. And that's the stigma that held them back the longest time, was the concept of writing is not a real job and you can't make a career out of it. And at some point, whatever reason, they just do it and then are sold. It's be an author or bust, but I love it. So,
Yeah.
my question for you predominantly was because I hope it's okay that I steal it, but I love the term you've coined, the bread and cheese fantasy, because that speaks so well into pretty much all my series. It makes so much sense.
So the reason I did that was because I joined Book Talk, and I was, for some reason, it may have been like the corner of Book Talk that I somehow ended up on, but my For You page was just full of spicy fantasy romance.
I think that's
It was
usually
like
the first thing. Yeah.
it was coming at me so hard and fast, and I was like, how can I market my book in amongst this? Like, how can I make it obvious that you're not going to pick up my book and find that it's got a spicy romance between the covers, because it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking about it, and I'd seen people do TikToks where they talked about, like, taking bread and cheese on a long journey because they were off on a fantasy adventure, and I was like, oh my goodness, that is what this is.
Yeah.
This is people going on a journey and going by boat and on horseback and taking some food with them. So that was kind of why I used it, and I think it resonated with quite a lot of people, because they were like, oh, I get it, like this is what this is. This is not high favorite fantasy romance. Like,
yeah, I mean, if you like fantasy romance, there's plenty out there for you. But if you want something a little different, bread and cheese is a little different. It's that, like you said, that wholesome, that adventure, that sweeping, arc, Lord of the Rings, all that kind of stuff where you just go on an adventure. I just love it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was for when I was younger and I used to write stories, they always turned into people traveling. They always went on an adventure, and I was like, how do I do that? How do I write a story where they stay in one place? Because I'd read these books and I'd be like, it'd be so much better if they were just confined in one space. So that will happen further down the series, but the first one certainly is definitely about the journey and the end goal and getting to a different place.
I absolutely love it. Yeah, no. But yeah, it's hard because I have noticed that, trying to filter through, I think it's the algorithm, because there is such a heavy amount of romance or spicy talk writers on TikTok. I guess partly due, I don't know if you know, but if you write that kind of genre, you can't run ads especially on like Amazon, you can't run Amazon ads if that's your type. You just literally have to find other ways of marketing. So it kind of makes sense that those authors have found TikTok as a way to promote themselves, which makes probably a lot of them use it. But then you have to try to go through all that to find your other niches, because like I have a niche of dark fantasy. I do YA fantasy, the bread and cheese sweeping kind of arc. I do that too. So it's kind of finding people who fit in your niche and coming out and forming your little mini alliance. Will you be on my team?
Yeah, literally. Do you write all of those different, because they are slightly different, aren't they, those genres? Do you write them all on the same name?
So on the same what?
On the same name. You use the same pen name for them all.
Yes, and again, don't necessarily advise it. But I didn't know what. I feel like I'm the one who stumbles through everything the wrong way. I'll get it eventually, but I stumble through it the wrong way. But yes, I use the same name for all of them, which gets a little confusing because my fun, family-friendly YA adventure series is very different than my very gritty, dark adult novella series. So I am trying to be, clear what age, what level these books are. I really thought about it, and I'm like, unless I branch into something like Spice or maybe something that's nonfiction based or maybe non-fantasy, that's when I might pick up a pen name. But as long as I'm just doing a general fantasy, I've kept my name on all of them. But again, confusing.
Yeah, but it does make it easier, doesn't it? Because then you can, you start to think about all the things you'd have to do to set up, a different mailing list, a different website, a different TikTok account. It would just be it would be too much.
It would be a lot of stress on my end, at least to the setup part and trying to balance that managing. But what I've heard from authors who do it, that's almost better, because some people only want to know about your YA, the friendly YA. Some people are really just into, like I said, dark fantasy is one of mine, and they don't really want anything that's the lighter stuff. So when you can split it and have different mailing lists and everything, I know that can benefit authors who try to broach different brackets, be it, age or themes. But yeah, for me, I'm a little lazy on that side, and I just like one mailing list.
Yeah,
one website, one because I'm also an author who has, as I said before, fear of missing out. So the FOMO, as these young kids these days call it. And so I feel like I have to be on all the platforms, because if I'm not on a platform, then I'm missing potential readers who only use that platform. So for me, I'm on, it feels like everything, though I know I'm weak at a lot of them and then strong on a couple. But I still try to spread myself as thin as possible and reach out to everybody. How about you? Are you on, what other platforms outside of TikTok are you on?
Well, honestly, really, not really any at all. I'm mostly on TikTok, and that was partly because I was like, I can't take on too much. Otherwise I'll spend, I'll never do any writing. I'll be like on Instagram, and then I'll be trying to get to grips with something else. So it is essentially TikTok for me. I'm trying to look into how I can easily, cross post stuff across to Instagram, maybe without that much effort. I have been a little bit frightened to go there, though, because I know like Instagram's a bit more established and people that I know are on it, whereas I feel like TikTok is, it's newer, it's younger, people of my generation who aren't actively trying to promote some kind of unusual entrepreneurial creative career. They're not really on TikTok yet. Yeah. So it felt definitely more like a bit of a safe place for me to kind of find my footing. I do have a Facebook reader group. It's not, I probably do not, I like to think of it like a little garden that's kind of a little bit thirsty. I'm kind of neglecting it. I have, yeah, it's like all the little flowers are dying.
Do a little weeding here and there. And
I do need to get in there and spend a little more time there. But it is mostly here. Yeah. And then, in fact, TikTok is pretty much it for me at the moment. When I have more books, I feel like I'll try and do adverts and then see how I can go with just promoting my book here and then running ads. But who knows? That's like a whole different ballgame.
I understand. And again, listening to the advice of the wise people out there, do everything wrong, but that is advisable for people who are starting their writing journey to develop 1 to 2 social media and not do what I do and try to do it. Don't do it all. This is not Pokemon. Don't try to catch them all. This is marketing. It's best to focus on 1 or 2. So you're doing the smart route, which highly advise, because like I'll really concentrate on one for a while and maybe I'm not seeing the results, or I get sidetracked with another one. Like I was really focusing, trying to figure out Instagram, but Instagram is really focused on beauty shots of books for self-promotion, like those really nice vignettes. And I don't have the time. I don't have the props. I don't know photography. It just doesn't. So I've never been able to really make it work for me. That doesn't mean I'm not trying. It's just not great. Though here, it's so easy just to come up with content. It sounds scary at first, but it's so easy now to like, oh, I can mirror that trend, or I can talk about my book for a little funny video, or like you with your roller chair. I love them. Rolling in there, being like with your book. It's just so easy to be like, here's what I'm about. Here's some stuff I like. Come and talk to me.
Yeah, like I've got a comment here about someone trying to build 2 TikTok accounts. I know I would find that kind of overwhelming. And also I thought when I started this TikTok account, there are, other things that I'm interested in beside books, but I tried very much to be like, this is just going to be about books. This is what happens on my page. So in that way, I think I've avoided, people are always complaining about, they do a viral video and it's about something completely different, unrelated from books. I only really have book content, but I would say that it's not always about my books. Like I do a lot of writing skits, and so often it's those that will go viral, not the ones that are specifically about my books.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you think about it, but I've seen some posts recently where people are like, are you targeting like other small businesses with your TikTok content? I.e., and for us, I guess it would be like, are you targeting other writers, other authors? And is that really, should we be focusing more on readers?
I have heard that question a lot. I mean, sorry, what do you think? Let me not interrupt. What are your thoughts on it first?
What I find, and it's probably because I've only been doing this for a few months, is that it's so much more natural and easy for me to make content that's about what I'm doing rather than what I'm selling.
Yeah.
And I at some point, I feel like there'll be a switch where I'll know more what I'm doing, and I'll be able to be like, oh, this is how I'm going to sell my books. But definitely at the moment, it's easier to talk about other people's books, to do book reviews, to talk about, the problems of being a writer or make jokes about it. That is definitely easier. But I don't know if it's the most effective way. I mean, you do see some authors who are like, I'm here for the readers and that is it. And they're not looking, they're not really looking at other authors or other writers or... Yeah.
For me, I like to reach everybody. I do like to make sure I'm conscious of putting out enough content that is general reader friendly. So jokes about, type of characters, or again, the reviews of books, or, the general stuff that any reader could think it's funny and get a chuckle out of. But yeah, I also don't mind talking about, because there are a lot of people who are readers that might want to become a writer, and they are interested in the content of how we did what we did. And there are also authors out there that when you start building these relationships, we can start doing and utilizing TikTok or whatever platform for multiple cross promotion. But, like we during these lives, and if I didn't start reaching out and paying attention to other authors, I wouldn't be able to do that. And it's a great way, again, my viewers can meet you, your viewers can meet me, and it's another way to reach new readers. So I don't mind doing that, but I have to be conscious to try to make sure, I think, I'm trying to do that whole multiple, 4 posts a day for a couple months just to see how, the algorithm works. And when I do that, I usually ask a question. I started doing writing tips, but then I'll have 2 that can be either, make sure I do something for just general readers, and then the 4th one can be whatever. And I've also, for the little video covers on my profile, you can select your cover if you want, and there's like the red screen or all that kind of stuff. I've started to use them for themes. So the red one is always my question of the day, and the white ones are reader forward, and like the black screen is for more writers and authors. And so I'm creating, at least in my mind, it makes sense. So then people who are interested in maybe that type of content can easily find, okay, these are the videos I like. But I'm okay with reaching out with everybody, but I also like just meeting people. I know there are a lot of people who claim that they're introverted on this platform, but I'm the opposite. I am an extrovert. I want to meet everyone. Hi, my name is Katharine. Come and hang out.
Yeah, I think that's a really common theme, isn't it? Is that everyone's kind of claiming that they're an introverted writer who's, like creeping onto TikTok. And I don't know. I've pondered it. I'm like, am I an introvert? Am I energized by being with other people? Or I certainly am energized when I'm talking about books and writing and that kind of thing. And so that's why TikTok has been fabulous for meeting other writers. And like you say, there is a huge overlap, isn't there, between, I mean, every writer has been a reader first, right?
Yeah, and authors are readers too. I mean, not everybody has the time to read, but they had to start reading at some point, or else why are you an author? Why are you making books if you didn't like books? So yeah, there is that overlap.
Yeah, and I do. It seems to me to be a very friendly place, Book Talk. I mean, sometimes I'll post a video and I've been like, and I'll be like, oh, have I gone a little bit too far? Have I said something that's a little bit, and then I'll kind of be really hesitant to like look at the comments, or I'll be like, oh no, what are people going to say? But most of the time, because it's about books and reading, and it's always. Most people have been really quite open-minded. It's like, okay, well, she likes that and she doesn't like this, and they kind of can get a feel for like who we are and what we like to read, and what therefore we're probably aspiring to write. But I've certainly hesitated to give my full-on opinion of certain popular books on here, just because I feel like, is it gonna, there are a lot of book talkers who are very successful because they give these incredibly strong opinions on books. They're not afraid to just be like, I think this. But I definitely kind of hold back a little bit on it, and I'll be like, tentatively, this is what I think of this. But, everyone, there's a reader for every book, and it doesn't mean I am saying this book is bad. I'm just saying it's not necessarily for me.
I just started to go and try to decide, should I review books on, TikTok? And unless I read something, which is very rare, but unless I read something that I absolutely do not like, okay, I might not leave a review for that, because, I don't want to be rude. But what I try to do is make sure I like show the cover, and I'm like, this is the theme or the age bracket or whatever it is about. But then I'll note one thing I really like, one thing I did not like, again, that critique, and then I'll give it like the star rating. But I won't go too in depth about it, but at least people know, hey, I like this aspect, and that may be something they also like. Or if I say I don't like something, someone else may be like, I don't really care. So they, can disregard the critique part of it. But I try to keep it fair, neutral, where it's, not deprivating and, optimistic.
Yeah, for sure. And also, it's like people read and like different kinds of books, don't they? So I don't want to be, if I say I don't like a particular book, it doesn't necessarily mean that if a reader also doesn't like it, they won't like what I've written, because there are, you see on here so many people talking about being mood readers, and I'm definitely one of them. I want to read, some dark dystopian book because that's what I feel like, and then I might want something totally different the next time. So there's I don't know, books for different moods, books for different people.
Exactly. I mean, for me, I'm not necessarily, I don't qualify myself as a mood reader. I just have a wide range of interest. And I kind of go through, I'm like, okay, right now I'm reading the modern day fantasy. And then I'll flip over and be like, I'm going to do an ancient epic because I do like ancient epic poetry and prose. And I'll read one of those. And then I'll jump over and maybe it'll be a how to do Ikebana because I like that flower arranging. So I'll jump around and it's a wide range. And so at least for this purpose, I don't review all the books that I read because all of a sudden throwing a book about how to flower arrange might be a little odd when I'm talking about fantasy, but yeah. I totally understand about there's people are varied and their interests are varied, and if you're a mood reader, your mood can change between books, so totally understand that aspect. Okay, so sorry, you go.
No, I was going to say, where do you see your TikTok going? Do you for instance have like certain goals, like I want this many followers by this time, or I want this many followers to become mailing list subscribers, or I feel like we kind of plunge into these platforms with the intention of using them, but then then it's like, what are we aiming for? As authors, what are we going for?
I guess there's a multiple thing. I mean, obviously numbers help out because the more numbers you have, the greater probability or proportion of them will be your subscribers for newsletters or people who buy your books, or they may even be people who you utilize as ARC readers down the line. For me, obviously, the higher the number is great, and I think if I ever reach that it's a slow building ever reach that 5,000 mark, I don't know, I may do like every 5,000 or something once I hit those brackets, do a book fairy thing. I learned about that here, and that sounds really cool. Of course, budgets are budgets and you can only do so much, but to reward hello followers, but in general, obviously you want to reach people who are interested in your book. So if I can see, because I'm on Kindle Unlimited, if I see page reads jump up, that's exciting. If I, see sales, obviously that's exciting because I'm an author. I would like to make this, permanent living. On the other hand, it's just fun to see, the interaction, because this is a very interactive community. I pop a question out and then all of a sudden I'm scrolling all the answers or comments and everything. I'm like, oh, well, this is kind of fun. And it's also a great resource. So I can see it obviously helping me to make the sales, but also be able to educate myself further or help educate others, which is nice too. How about you?
Similarly, I think I would say I probably intend to try and shift my focus more to showing people what my books are about.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily know that the number of followers translates to, you tend to look at it from the outside and you're like, oh, they've got 100,000 followers. And then you assume that they must be making a killing on their books. And they might not be. It's interesting to know how numbers translate to sales. And I guess a lot of that is going to be due to down to the type of content we're putting out. If people are just clicking on because they're like, oh, she's funny, and then they watch and they go, ha.
Yeah, and that's the thing you have to constantly remind them periodically and be like, hey, you like my content, like my book, remember, you can go to my link and then get the book yourself. And, it is interesting that how many people will not even think about that until someone says, remember, you can actually own this book. And they're like, oh, actually I can. Let me go and jump on and, get your book.
They always say to put a call to action in, don't they? I think because of how the algorithm works, and you never know who's seeing which videos. I follow a lot of other authors, and often I'll think, I don't even know what they've written. I don't know what their book is, because they're doing amazingly funny and very enjoyable content, but it's unrelated to what they've written. So I'll be, I could be following someone for months and never on my For You page will there have been a video that popped up about what they're actually writing or what they're trying to sell. I just find that interesting. And I think also I suffer from this. I'll make a video about my book and then I'll be like, oh, I've done it, and I'll think if I make another one, people are going to find it annoying because it's like, oh, she's doing that again. But actually, people probably haven't even seen it. There's so many people. It's like, oh, you could probably make 10 videos that are very similar and they would go out to totally different people. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's why someone, and once they said it, cannot remember what her handle is or her name, but another TikTok author, I'm so sorry I can't remember your name right now, just literally explained it as, always have a book of yours in the screen, so you don't necessarily have to be holding it, but if you have it in the background or a poster of them behind you or something that you could be talking about whatever, but if they just subconsciously see your stuff behind you, over time people are going to they may ask about it. Another thing is when you do that, if you have a picture of a book in your shot, you can comment on your own video and pin it to the top and say, hey, the books you see are blah, blah, blah. Buy them here. And so when people try to comment, it's right there. And I was like, oh my goodness, that is brilliant. So I started doing that. And I was like, oh, see? So I don't have to be like, here's my book, but I can be like, well, technically they're right there.
Did you find it made a difference? I've
only recently-ish started doing it. Again, I'm still fairly new to TikTok, so I don't know, but I'm trying it. Why not? At least it kind of makes sense. There's something about that makes sense, at least in my mind.
Yeah, no, it sounds really sensible. I mean, I'm just now thinking of what I've got on my wall. I've got these like random prints of they're just random prints of like little kids, because this used to be my kids' nursery, so I just sit here. I should just switch those. Did you see A.K. Mulford? She did a video the other day about how she'd done posters of her books and hung them on the wall, but she'd printed them inverted.
Okay, so I had talked to another author about this weeks and weeks ago, and I was like, oh, this would be a great idea, and he was like, oh, this is a great idea, and had yet to do it, and then I've started to see other authors use that, and I was like, oh, my idea is out there. Great minds think alike. We all come up with the same thing at the same time, but I was just like, man, I wanted to be the first. That is on my list, is that reverse, flipped over, mirror image poster of my books that can be like, when I'm on videos like this, I can have it back. Of course, I would have to figure out a different setup than my couch, but yes, I like that idea.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can't believe that has not occurred to me until now. Next time you see me, actually, it'll probably take me about 6 months to get that done. But
oh no, that's the problem. Is like I was like, I'm gonna do it right away, and then I don't know. Maybe before the summer, I can have it set up somewhere where my prop background. But that is also, I think, one of the reasons why a lot of authors talk in front of their bookshelves, is because they'll have their books be the ones that face out. So it's, again, visually there. Of course, it may also be distracting because you have all these other books that people are like, wait, I've read that one, and not paying attention to what they're trying to focus on. So I don't know. But I do like that subtle psychology of, what is it? You see it 10 times and then you're sold kind of thought process, where you just show it to them, so just on the deal, and be like, hey, you like the cover, go get it for yourself. Now, let me ask you, what formats do you have for your book? Because different authors, some are only ebook, obviously I'm not, and obviously you're not, but what formats do you have for your books?
Just paperback and ebook. I haven't really done any hardbacks yet. I haven't kind of branched into that. In fact, I don't know, Amazon doing hardbacks now?
They are, and so I'm about to, well, technically I've released them because you can buy them online. It's just author's copies through Amazon. Take forever. So I'll get my author's copies in another couple weeks, but it's out there for other people to buy, because when people buy direct, it's a lot quicker. So I finally branched into hardcovers. I'm so excited.
That is really exciting, because my paperback covers are glossy, but I'm kind of tempted to do the hardcovers in matte, because
Did I lose you? Oh no! I may have lost you. Let me see. Come back. Technical glitch at the moment. Let's get her back and going. If I don't get her back on in a moment, I'll probably log off and then log back on again. Give it just a moment time. Let's see if I can reinvite her. Here we go. Let's see if this works. That's the only problem with doing these where we're across the big ocean, because you never know what everybody's service is going, because I've had glitches before and I hate that. Okay, let's see if I can get her back on. Doop. See if she sees my invite. Oh no! Anywho, how's everybody else doing as we are trying to solve technical issues behind the screen? Hope everybody's having a lovely morning if you are in where I'm from in the US, or could be later. Okay, so I'm going to log off and try this again, I think. Give her one more chance, see if she sees these notifications. She's new to the invite process. I didn't really realize when you invite, you have a little countdown clock. That's nerve-wracking. Okay, so I'm going to log off and try again here. See you guys hopefully in a few.